reading from Mark's Gospel, chapter 1, beginning to read at verse 29. As soon as they left the synagogue, they entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they told him about her at once. He came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her, and she began to serve them. That evening at sunset, they brought to him all who were sick or possessed with demons, and the whole city was gathered around the door. And he cured many who were sick with various diseases, and cast out many demons. And he would not permit the demons to speak, because they knew him. In the morning, while it was still very dark, he got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed. And Simon and his companions hunted for him. When they found him, they said to him, "Everyone is searching for you." He answered, "Let us go on to the neighbouring towns, so that I may proclaim the message there also. For that is what I came out to do." And he went throughout Galilee, proclaiming the message in their synagogues and casting out demons. Many years ago, when I was leading a Bible study group, I was asked by someone, well, what did happen at Capernaum? I think I fumbled through an explanation that was perhaps somewhat inadequate. Today's reading from Mark's Gospel gives me another opportunity to answer this question, as the setting for this reading is in Capernaum. Capernaum was situated on the north shore of Lake Galilee, and it was reported to have been the hometown of the tax collector Matthew. Jesus certainly stayed in the town, probably in the house of Simon. It was in Capernaum where he began teaching in the synagogue, and many people were brought to him for healing in many, many different ways. This short reading from Mark's Gospel gives us a glimpse of a day in the life of Jesus. We know from many Gospel stories that as well as healing the sick, casting out demons and preaching, Jesus was in the habit of going off to a quiet place in order to pray and to spend time with God. Today, we live in a world where life is lived at a very fast pace. Decisions and transactions happen instantly. We can communicate with someone on the other side of the world at the touch of a button. Children are interacting with technology and with each other in ways unheard of when I was growing up. The pressure on people today is greater than it has ever been. So if seeking out a quiet place for prayer and contemplation was important for Jesus, then surely it's also important for us. We can all benefit from recharging our batteries, perhaps after a stressful day, or maybe a time of anxiety. Jesus' ministry, his whole life, was driven and affirmed by the fact that he was the Father's beloved. His ministry was a whirlwind of activity. It lasted a little over 3 years. He had a lot to fit into a short space of time. When Jesus enters human lives, things change fast, and for the better for those who are willing to hear his teaching. Jesus was a new creation, a new beginning, and everyone wanted to be part of it. Capernaum was a happening place, and people came from miles around to be part of it. What do we seek Jesus out for? Let's take ourselves to Capernaum that day. Are we just a spectator, standing far off and looking on? Or are we pushing and fighting to get as close as we possibly can to Jesus? For Jesus' presence brings wholeness. People become more alive. It was wholeness and healing that Jesus brought to the home of Simon Peter. Here, Simon's mother-in-law had been taken ill and was lying down with a burning fever. Jesus went to her, took her by the hand, and raised her up. How many people does Jesus, the risen Lord, still take by the hand and help to raise them up? Simon's mother-in-law immediately feels well, and she begins to look after the guests. Jesus heard Simon's prayers for his sick mother-in-law and answered them. When we are healed by whatever means, it is tempting to sit back and to accept people's good wishes and congratulations. But let's not forget the power of prayer. For there is no trouble Jesus will not face with us and for us. During this eventful day in the life of Jesus, he found time to take himself away from all the busyness that was going on around him, to find a quiet place and to pray. If we can find time to do this, we will be refreshed and our lives will be more fruitful. When Simon's mother-in-law is cured, she does what Jesus himself does. She serves those in need. In fact, she became a disciple. The heart of Jesus goes out to those in need. The healing that people come to Jesus for was not always physical. It could be a healing from anxiety, a healing of guilt, and of all that weighed people down. And it is the same for us today. It is by coming to Jesus in prayer that we are strengthened in ourselves, and we can pass this strength and love on to others. We can become disciples also. A lot happened that day in Capernaum. A lot of people's lives were changed forever. Finding time to pray is not always easy, but prayer is the vital link between us and God. And through prayer, we too can and will be changed.